Hey everyone, welcome back to bodyhavensoaps. My name is Darlene. I am the owner and creator of bodyhavensoaps, and the whole goal of this channel is to help fellow creators create. So in today's video, we are going to go over making a lotion bar. Now, there's many different types of lotion bars, and there's many different ways that you can formulate a lotion bar. This is a formulation that I've come up with for my products that has, really good moisturizing, fast absorbing oils is kind of my goal. I'm trying to alleviate that oily feel that's sometimes left behind. I mean, it is a lotion bar, so you're going to have, it's not going to be as fast absorbing as, say, like lotion or something like that, because it is a lotion bar. There is a lot more oils and waxes in it. However, we want to make it as light feeling as we can. So I'm going to go over some of the things that I use and some of the options to try and alleviate that greasy feel. So that's kind of the goal of today's video. So with the lotion bar, you guys, obviously you need to have something that's going to solidify this and keep it in a bar form. You could absolutely pour this into a silicone mold and have it as a bar. Putting it into a metal tin as packaging perhaps, or anything like that. I'm going to do mine today actually in little push-up tubes like this, okay? And these are just 1 ounce ones, but you can get the ones that are 2 ounce, but this is just like a little push-up tube that we're going to put these into. And I've designed this one for kind of extremely dry areas. So your elbows, your knees, or any really dry. You could use this on your hands if your hands are super dry. In the wintertime, we have a lot of dry skin issues. So that's kind of the goal of this product. And we will be putting it into tubes like this, but this is firm enough that you could pour this into a silicone mold if that's what you chose to do with it. Okay? So obviously you're going to want your heat safe bowl to start off with. All right. The first ingredient that we're going to use is going to be beeswax. I like using beeswax. Now, if you wanted to make this vegan or something different, then you could choose other waxes. Any other wax would work. You're just looking for something that's going to firm these oils and butters up so that it can stay in a bar or stick form. So we have 99 grams. Okay, of beeswax. All right, so we're going to get our beeswax in. Now, I'm going to do this on a double boiler. You guys could absolutely melt this in the microwave. I'd just be really careful, depending on the oils you're using, that you're not overheating it and destroying or breaking down the molecules in that oil and losing a lot of those properties that we're looking for. So 99 grams of beeswax or your wax of choice. I'm going to give you guys options so that you guys can create your own. You don't have to do the exact same. You could just use this principle. Okay, so beeswax, I'm going to shut that off. Okay, so beeswax is in. Next, you guys, we're going to use another solid butter. We are going to use cocoa butter. Now, cocoa butter, I use the wafers. You could use raw cocoa butter. You will have that very cocoa butter smell to there. It almost smells chocolatey, but you could absolutely do that if that's what you wanted to do in here. I actually don't use a fragrance in this one. This is more of a dry skin, chapped, healing, natural product. So I'm not putting fragrance or anything like that in today's recipe. But however, you could go ahead and use cocoa if you just wanted that nice cocoa butter smell. So we're using the cocoa butter wafers, and I'm using the deodorized ones. And we are going to use 28 grams of cocoa butter. This brings extreme moisture to the skin. It also helps create a barrier. And there's a lot of vitamins and nutrients, and it's one of those faster absorbing. So when you're developing a recipe like this, one thing that you guys want to consider is the oils you're using. If you use something that absorbs into the skin very slowly, you're going to have more of that greasy oil feel. So that's one thing that you definitely want to consider. Cocoa butter does absorb kind of at a medium rate. So this is the beeswax is going to create the barrier to hold moisture. Cocoa butter also helps with the barrier to hold moisture, but it does absorb fast, just like, or medium, kind of like the beeswax, okay? So 28 grams of cocoa butter in there, okay? And then we are going to add in a butter. Now the butter I choose for a lot of my lotions and things like that, unless I am doing an emulsification. I prefer mango. Now mango is a faster absorbing out of the butters than a lot of the other ones. Now for my Patreons, I did post this morning a list of carrier oils and what the speed of absorption is into the skin. And just some information there for you guys. So if you are on my Patreon, go and check that out, because that has a lot of explanation and will help you in developing the recipe. But mango butter is one of those ones that absorb quite a bit faster than shea butter. However, you could use shea butter in this recipe. I mean, it's a complete option to you. I do like mango butter because it's got more of a dry feel on the skin. And you guys, if you don't have a chart, or you don't have the information of how fast things absorb, one thing that I always do, even though I've done the research and I have all that information, is I'll actually take oils or butters, and I'll actually, when I get them, if it's a new product, I'll get it and I'll rub it into my skin and just see how fast it absorbs. What does it feel like on the skin? Those types of things, right? You want something that's going to be, you know, fairly dry feeling within a shorter period of time, then you're able to tell that by rubbing it into your skin. Now, mango butter is one of those things that it absorbs fairly readily, and it almost leaves like a dry powdery feel on the skin. So I really like using that in my lotion bars and stuff like that, and because I'm not doing an emulsification here. Okay, so there's no water added in this recipe. And we have 138 grams of mango butter, so quite a good proportion of mango butter. Okay, so we have our mango butter in there. Other things that we want to add into here are going to be our oils. So those are kind of our solids that are going to help form the lotion bar, so I can pour this into my tubes, or you guys can use also the silicone molds as I mentioned. Okay, so that's what's going to solidify this and keep it in the bar form. Now to go over our oils. Now I have hemp seed oil here, and hemp seed oil is, you know, kind of a medium range. So if we are to score this like you see on the chart that I posted on my Patreon, it's scored between 5 and 1, 5 being the slowest absorbing and 1 being the fastest absorbing. This is a 3. Okay, so it's kind of that medium absorption. All right, but it brings so much good properties, and we're going to balance it out with having faster absorbing oils as our secondary oils that we're adding into this recipe. So for our hemp seed oil, we are going to put in 85 grams. I'm just going to grab a little spatula here. All right, so we are going to put 85 grams of the hemp seed oil in here. And I use the unrefined hemp seed oil. I want as much of the benefits as I can, so I'm going to use the unrefined. Okay, so we have our hemp seed oil, which is between the 2 and the 3 absorption rate, and it leaves the skin feeling really nice. It's got a lot of nutrients and stuff that it brings to the skin, can help with itchiness and inflammation of the skin, so it's a good one to put in here if we have dry spots that get itchy or anything like that. And then we are going to put in our meadow foam oil, and this one is about a 2 absorption rate, and it is going to absorb fairly quickly into the skin. It has a lot of good nutrients. It's highly moisturizing, and it's one of my favorite oils to use in my lotions. So we are going to put in 28 grams of the meadow foam oil. I'm just going to scrape everything out here and get everything I can out. And you're just going to put everything into your bowl to warm this up, okay? And then we're going to have our camellia seed oil, which is a really fast absorbing oil. It leaves a luxury silk smooth feel on the skin. And like I said, if you're new to an oil, it's a good idea to just take a little bit, rub it on your skin, and then you can see how it absorbs into your skin and how it works for you. This is also an oil that not many people have reactions to. Is kind of the oils and butters that I try and stick to. So we have 22 grams of the camellia seed oil. And then lastly, we have our rose hip oil, which is known for its healing properties. It's known for its fast absorption and a lot of health, nutrients, and moisturizing benefits it brings to the skin. And we have 28 grams of the rose hip oil. Okay, so all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get that on my double boiler and start melting it down. I don't want to get this temperature really high because I don't want to break down the properties of my mango butter and my, hemp seed oil and meadow foam oil and all those kinds of things. I want to keep those good properties of those oils, so I want to get it just to a temperature where everything is translucent. So we will get that on the double boiler and start with that. I'll just quickly go over a few things. So when you're picking your oils, you guys, these are the oils that I put in here today. Okay, we talked about the mango butter and those types of things. Now, they can be fairly expensive. Like this one here for the hemp seed, it's $15.50, but I did not buy this in bulk. It's a smaller container. I do have a big bulk container. However, this is all they had, so this is what I picked up. It's a little bit more expensive. So for something that you use a lot of, it's a good idea to buy that in a larger quantity. That can actually save you quite a bit of money. But these are more expensive oils, so you can absolutely opt for lower cost. When you're designing a recipe, you want to be able to figure out, okay, so first of all, what do I want this to consist of? What do I want this bar to bring to my customers? And then you want to figure out, how you're going to bring those in there with what oils. So you need to figure out what those oil properties are, what they bring to the product. You're going to look at your absorption rates. You don't want to just use all heavy oils that are slow absorbing oils, because now you've got this greasy slick that people are putting on their skin. You don't want that. So you need to look at different ones. However, there is more cost effective oils than what I'm using that are fast absorbing oils. So you just need to get that information. All right. But they're kind of expensive. So if you look at this rose hip oil, this little bottle here was $12.35 is what I paid for it. Now, if I bought this in bulk, I would save a little bit of money, but it's still a very expensive oil. Meadow foam oil, I don't even have a price on this one right now. Camellia seed oil, so this bottle here, $12.65. Now I have a smaller bottle here that I had bought when I was just testing and playing around with this oil, because I'll always buy a small amount, even though it costs me a little bit more, until I know that I'm actually going to use a fair bit, because they do have shelf lives, and then I will opt for a bigger size that's more relevant to what I'm producing. But this little bottle was $4.10, and it's only 2 ounces. This was $12.65, and it's 8.4 ounces. So you can see the price difference there of buying larger amounts. But if you're not going to use it all, it's a huge waste. So buy appropriate to what you're using. Waste is still very expensive, and you lose a lot of money. But I will buy this in this size, because that's for what I make. And if I start making more products with this in it or whatever, then I can opt for a bigger size. All right. But just to go over this, these are some of the oils and stuff that I am testing with right now, because I really like using different ones and trying and playing around. So like I said, I buy a lot in the smaller size so that I can do some testing and things like that. but you're going to get into more expensive oils. So this is sea buckthorn oil. It's cold pressed, but this was $7.65. Once again, if I decide to use this, I can buy in a larger quantity and it saves me a bit of money, but still more expensive. We got prickly pear oil, we got pomegranate oil, we have Amelia oil, we have red raspberry seed oil, there is cranberry seed oil, this is blueberry seed oil, jojoba oil, we have nut oil, broccoli seed oil, which actually I really like the broccoli seed oil. I bought this one actually from Soap and More out of Calgary. It is a very nice oil. It does not clog pores. I really like this oil. It really does leave a silky feel on the skin. So this is probably something that I will definitely continue to use, is the broccoli seed oil. Macadamia oil, and then we have evening primrose oil. Okay, and I mean, these can vary in price from, for these small ones, it's the cheapest one I have here. So like the macadamia oil, this was only $3.15 for this bottle, and then I've got some that are upwards of $9. So it can really change. I also have red raspberry seed oil. I haven't done it too much with this yet, but I've gotten that one. The watermelon seed oil, which I plan to test in some facial lotions, and then pumpkin seed oil as well. So as you can see, your options are endless. The amount of cold pressed and oils that are out there that are, you know, available for us to use is endless. So feel free to take this base recipe and do what you want with it. You need to figure out your absorption rate. You need to figure out what properties you want to bring to it. And you need to figure out, you know, what cost are you willing to use? What you have to be able to be cost effective. Now, if you're going to make this for yourself, by all means, sometimes we go all out there. I know I absolutely do. But if it's a product that I'm going to put onto the shelf, I need to make sure that I can price it to sell and actually make a profit. So those are things to consider, but your options are endless. All right, so I'm just going to continue melting this down, and then I will bring you guys back when it's done. As you can see, this is now a complete liquid. I don't know if you can see that, but it's starting to firm up on the edges because of the beeswax and stuff, and this metal's going to get cold fairly quickly. I didn't get this to too high of a temperature. We are in fact at 163, so not too high. And there's only one more thing that I'm going to add into this, and that's going to be some kind of clay, of course. Now you could use whatever you want, and you don't even have to put anything in here, but the different options that you have, I'm going to use Canon clay today, but you can use multiple different colored clays to bring a color to the product if you want. This will just be a light green color, but you could add colorful clays for colors. You could add, where is arrowroot powder is another option, and all this does is it gives that soft feel to the skin when they apply this, and it kind of helps it feel less greasy. Now you could use cornstarch. I'm not a big fan of cornstarch in my product, but I do love my clays, as you guys all know. So we are going to get some clay in here, and if it starts to solidify too much on me, so that I can't pour it, I can put it back on the heat and warm this up. I just watch I don't get it too hot. So I'm only going to put in 3 grams. I do not need a lot of powder to get this silky feel. So 3 grams of the Canon clay. And I'm just going to stir to get that mixed in there really good. And you want this to not be too hot when you pour it, when you're putting clays in it. Clays are a little bit trickier than, say, arrowroot powder or anything like that, because they're a little denser. So you don't want them sinking to the bottom of your bar. So you do want this to be fairly cooled, pourable, but not super hot, so things solidify quickly so that it doesn't all sink to the bottom. So you want to watch that if you're using a clay. If that's something that you're struggling with, absolutely go with the arrowroot powder. It's pretty natural. It's just ground from an arrowroot. So you could absolutely go with that. Or you could just opt to not do any of it and it would still be perfectly just fine. So that's kind of what it looks like once it's all mixed in there. A little bit hazy, but nothing too serious. Now to pour this into my tubes, I'm actually going to use one of my pouring pitchers. So we're going to get, I really like having the spout when I'm pouring things. So I'm just going to get this into here. Oops. Made a little bit of a mess there. And you can see how fast that solidifies hitting the counter. So you can see that it's kind of cooling off fairly quickly. That's what we want so that that kind of clay sticks in it. So I want to get this poured while it's still liquidy, but starting to set. So we're going to get some tubes out here. Now I had sprayed all these and cleaned them and then put them back into the bag so that I didn't have them sitting out. I sanitize everything, so sprayed with rubbing alcohol and allowed to air dry, and then I just put them back in here so that I wouldn't have the issue of them being out in the open and flying all over the place. Okay, so you can see here, guys, how fast this is solidifying on me. Okay, but we kind of want it like that so that that clay stays floating. So I just scrape the sides down and I stir this in to melt down those chunks a little bit. And it keeps the clay suspended. Kind of what I'm going for. It's trial and error. The first time I did this with clay, all the clay sunk to the bottom. So I've had to adapt and change how I'm doing it. And I know that I need to get it cooled down and starting to solidify right before I pour for that clay to stay where I want it. Like I said, you can use arrowroot or anything else that you see fit that's going to make your life easier. Okay? I find it easier if I don't have these all stacked up too close, so I'm not making too much of a mess here. So we're just going to start filling these up. Okay, and quickly show you how fast that does solidify up. So I will warm this just enough to be able to fill up, put this into the rest of the jar, so just loosen it up a little bit because it thickens quite fast, this recipe. I have designed it that way so that I am able to keep that clay floating. So you could absolutely change your ratios if that's what works for you. Just keep that in mind. So I will warm this up. I'll finish filling this tube and then I will come back and show you how these look after they're completely solidified. Okay guys, these are completely solidified and cooled. So they're just little tubes. You could obviously do this in bigger tubes, or as I said, you could do this into your silicone molds. But this is what they look like. And I just use them in the roll-up form. And these are just push-up tubes, so you just push at the bottom. It's not a turn-up tube, but they work really well. And that's how simple that is. So keep in mind, you guys, and then, yeah, so I'll just show you one with the cap on it. I mean, and then I will just label these, and that will be it. So keep in mind, guys, you guys can design whatever formula you want. Do your research on your oils. Figure out which ones are, you know, going to absorb more. You got to kind of blend between. You're never going to have all fast absorbing oils. You want that medium balance, so keep that in mind. You could add essential oils to this. Your options are kind of almost endless with this. Okay, so I'm just going to allow these to completely cool. I don't want to cap them yet. I actually leave them for a number of hours just to make sure there's no heat, so I don't get any condensation or anything like that. Make sure the tops all look good. And then I will cap and label these, and then I put a shrink band around there so that they're tamper proof. And that is how I make this product. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, remember to ask them below. I'll do my best to get back to you. I get a lot of questions and comments right now, so it takes me a while to get to everybody, and I'm not sure I am getting to everybody, but I'll do the best that I can. And like I said, my Patreons, go and look on the Patreon page. I do have information on there about the absorption of the oils and different stuff like that. And the recipe for this, I break down each oil that I put into this recipe and why I use that, so it can give you a better idea of what you're looking for. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day.